Hi guys, welcome to my lesson today. This is my lesson 3. So today we'll be looking at naming the black keys under still the topic of keys identification. So the question is, how can we easily name these black keys on the piano? Join me and let's get started. All right. So the first thing we need to understand is that to identify the black keys on the piano is much more easier than the white keys. For those of you that have not watched my video on how you can identify the keys on the white keys on the piano, you can easily go back to my tutorial playlist and check it out before you proceed so that you won't miss anything out. Generally, the black keys on the piano are known as the flat key. I'm going to explain that, and sharp keys. Before I continue, for those of you that you've been following my tutorial, remember my tutorial is, or this piano accompaniment course is for absolute beginners. So please, I like to explain everything and give a well meaning of everything before we proceed, because I assume everybody is learning from scratch, that you don't even have any basic idea about piano playing. In technical terms, this means that they make a note half a step. First, let us understand what flat is and what sharp is. You can get sharp on the piano by doing this. Remember, we've done key identification. Let's pick the key of C, for example. So if I want to get a sharp from this key of C, all I just need to do is to move forward a half step. This key is half step from C, and that is a sharp key. Don't forget that. Okay, how do I get a flat key? Let's pick another key. Let's say, for example, A. Remember, you've learned this on how to identify this. So this is A. If I move a half step back, look at my finger, I'm going back. That means I've made the flat key. So that is how you can get the sharp and flat key. So in other words, the sharp key means you are moving forward of the piano. You are moving forward of the piano. Then the flat key means you are going back from the piano. Okay, now the next one is, what is semitone? Semitones is very easy. It's the same way we've identified the flat and sharp key. So this is my starting key. Always remember, I mentioned this is my starting key. So once you make a step forward, or a half step forward, that means you've made a semitone. Is that clear? Then if you make, this is your starting point, and you make 2 steps forward, 1, 2, you've made a tone. So this is my starting point, then I made 2 steps, 1, 2, I've made a tone. So in other words, 2 half steps or 2 semitones makes a tone. This is half step from C, don't forget, and this is a tone from C. So if I ask you what is a tone from D, all you need to do is to do this, your starting point, then make 2 half steps, 1, 2. So that is a tone. Yeah, don't forget, I said sharp keys. How do we get sharp keys? When you move forward to this direction, you are moving to your right hand side, that is the sharp. That means it means that you are sharpening the key. For example, this is my F, I move forward. This is my G, I move forward. So all what I'm doing is I'm sharpening the key, and so on. So when I do this also backward, I am flattening the key, or a flat key. So for you to get a sharp key, move forward from the original key. Then for you to get a flat key, move backward from the original key. Okay, with what I've explained earlier, I believe that you'll be able to identify the black key. So let's do this now. If I ask you to give me the name of this key, you can easily say So use means you can easily say, okay, fine, this is my D. If I take it forward, that is D sharp, right? That is D sharp. Then if I take it from here, if I move backward, that is my what? E flat. You can see now, and that is why it is called enharmonic keys. Enharmonic keys are keys that sound the same but are notated differently theoretically. So for those of you that will still be doing theory of music, you are going to get that. That is, they are the same, is the same key, they sound the same, but if I'm to write it on the music sheets, it's going to be in different positions. So that is what enharmonic means. Now, another way I use personally to teach my students, and I have some of my students have tried this with, it worked absolutely well. You can also try that. Is that I explain things, especially music, piano playing, using natural things. For example, seas, ocean, birds, color, white, based on natural things they can relate with. So for you to get that in full, let's quickly go straight to the piano. Now, I do say to my student that the white keys are the parent keys. Another thing I have observed on the piano is that the white keys, all the white keys, they are longer than the black keys. Did you see that? So then another thing I say is that the white keys are what? The parent keys. Then the black keys are the child key. So what does that mean? Okay. Now I do say that this letter C, this key C gave birth to this key. That is why if you look at the naming, you name it after C. The same way we give ourselves the name. So if your dad's name is John and your son's name is Jason, so the both will be what? Jason John. And that is why we call this one C sharp. And for those of you that you are conversant with the old school way whereby we write them, we do put the parent name first before our name. So that is why you call this word C sharp. So this key gave birth to this. Then in the aspect of flat, you should also know that naturally that male and female comes together before they can give birth. So I do something like this. Look at this. So let's call this male and this female. So if you name this child from the male, it's going to be called C sharp. If you name this key from the female, it's going to be called D flat. Did you see that now? I hope that is very interesting. Let's try out another one. Let's pick these two keys and we want to get the name of this black key here. So this is the male and this is the female. Remember, if you name it from here, you are moving forward according to what you've done. You say sharp. You say C sharp. Then if you name it from the female, according to what we have done, because we need to go back a step, we name it flat. So the key now become F sharp or G flat. So male and female. Let's do another one again. Look at this again. So if we name this key from the male A, it's going to be what? A sharp. Wow, that's good. You're getting it. Then if you name this key from the female, and remember we're moving back a half step according to what we've done before, that is going to be flat. It's going to be what? A flat. Did you see it now? So at the end of the day, another way you can also explain what these black keys are is that they have two letter naming. So you can either call this key G sharp or A flat. You can call this key A sharp or B flat. Don't forget the male and female thing I told you. So let's pick another one again. This is it again. So let us name it from the male, which means we are moving forward. And for us to get to this sharp, we must move forward. So we say sharp. So this is A sharp. Let us name it from the female. This is going to be what? B flat. Let's try out another one again. Let's just repeat this again. So this is the two parents that gave birth to this child. So if you name it from the male, it becomes C sharp. If you name it from the female, it becomes D flat. So that is all you need to learn about how to identify the black key. So in summary, this key will be called C sharp. I'm going to just use all the males. C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. You can see what I'm doing. I always put my finger like this. C sharp, D sharp. Now I'm using sharp because I'm moving forward. E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B and C. Now, some of you will ask me, are you sure? So what happens here? Why is it that this key doesn't have sharp? Now, by the time you study my next tutorial, probably later, if you can be patient, I'm going to explain more about that. That's a bit advanced. So because you're still learning now, I'm not going to explain that to you. So let's take that summary again. So let's name it backward. This will be what? From when you say, once you know how to name backward, you take the white key, which is the female, from the right. You see that? That is D flat. I come here. B flat. I come here. A flat. I come here. G flat. F. I come here. E flat. D flat, and then and so on like that. So that is all about the naming of the black keys. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also turn on the notification bell to get latest video of my piano accompaniment for absolute beginner.